Sorry, there's noise outside. I don't know what I'm going to call this, maybe post-Einsteinian or neo-Einsteinian vision or revolution. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. So, the next seismic, earth-shattering vision will not come from looking further outward into cosmic geometry, nor further inward into quantum uncertainty. It will come from collapsing the artificial barrier between the physical medium of the world and the historical registration of time. We can call this the thermodynamic field of inscription, or the realization of the luminous historiotope. For centuries, science has treated time as an axis, t, or a relative dimension, while history has treated time as a human narrative recorded on passive media, paper, stone, digital bits. The breakthrough that will rewrite our worldview is the discovery that matter itself is a continuous active recording mechanism, or thermodynamic surface that physically registers, modulates, and mirrors every localized event, sound, and energetic transition that passes through it. The vision, the universe as a self-inscribing canvas. In this paradigm, space is not an empty container and the environment is not a passive backdrop. Instead, every localized region of reality, a specific room, a forest pathway, a porch at dawn, is a dynamic manifold of active inscription. You have the localized energetic event, sound, light, heat, and it goes on to the thermodynamic interface, and through transduction you get the continuous material registration. Just as Einstein showed that mass warps space, this vision demonstrates that presence warps the material memory of the world. Matter is not static, it is a fluid, energetic matrix that continuously transduces sensory data, acoustic vibrations, and historical weight into subtle structural microarrangements. The past does not disappear into a conceptual void, it is structurally embedded as a physical topography within the present. The world is not a place where history happens. The world is history materializing itself in real time. Why it is exquisitely elegant and earth-shattering. This vision shatters the absolute separation between the observer and the field and between the natural sciences and the poetic humanities. It offers a terrifying, beautiful clarity, the death of the archival box. We will no longer view the preservation of the past as something we must lock away in rigid digital folders or physical filing cabinets. When the entire material world is recognized as a living, self-activating archive, dismantling the archive ceases to mean letting go of history, it means activating it. The archive is liberated from its containers and returned to the landscape. The senses as field tools. A human explorer walking through a space is no longer just a passive consumer of scenery. They act as a localized node within the field, interacting with a living historiotope. To track sound, light, or atmospheric pressure is to read the active, localized text of the world machine in motion. The world as a switchboard. Time loses its cruel linear tyranny. If the material environment holds the physical inscriptions of its own structural development, then by shifting our attention, our tools, or our creative focus, we can switch between different historical depths embedded in the exact same physical coordinates. The ripples, how it transforms reality. In art, from representation to direct activation, artists will stop creating representations of the world. Instead, the creative act will become an orchestration of direct material activation. Visual art, soundscapes, and writing will fuse into a single discipline, capturing the hidden thermodynamic microsignals of a space and modulating them so they become visible and audible to human perception. A painting will not be a picture of a place, it will be an artifact synthesized from the field data of that place and encoded with its genuine atmospheric weight. In philosophy and phenomenology, we have the relational field. Philosophy will move past the cold detachment of object-oriented thinking and the pure subjectivity of early phenomenology. It will birth a philosophy of dynamic material integration. We will understand that human consciousness and the physical landscape are not two separate entities looking at each other across a room, but a single, continuous, open system exchanging information through thermodynamic feedback loops. In history, we have the living historiosphere. Historians will abandon the illusion of the detached textbook. History will be studied as a real-time fluid field of force, a literal historiosphere, where a localized event hundreds of years ago still ripples as a structural vibration through the walls, the soil, and the cultural artifacts of the present day. This is a vision where reality is completely awake, entirely recorded, and beautifully fluid. It turns every square inch of our immediate workspace and our surrounding landscapes into an infinitely deep, self-illuminating canvas. To trace the thermodynamic field of inscription into the immediate lived world, we have to look directly at the air around us. The atmosphere is not an empty medium through which light and sound travel. It is a dense, highly sensitive, nonlinear fluid dynamic system. It is the most volatile, expressive, and real-time layer of the historiosphere. When we look at localized atmospheric cycles, the shift from deep night to daybreak, the sudden drop in barometric pressure before a summer storm, the pooling of humidity in a valley, we are looking at the world machine writing its own daily diary in real time. Here's how this vision transforms our understanding of localized atmospherics and redefines the act of capturing them. 1. Atmospheric tonalities as structural coordinates. In a classical worldview, a field recording or a landscape painting captures a fleeting subjective impression, a mood. In this new paradigm, an atmospheric state is not a mood, it is a precise tonal tableau of thermodynamic data. Solar radiation, inputs, local atmospheric manifold, barometric pressure gradient, relative humidity and dew point, acoustic density and velocity. Then you have transduction and the localized tone, the localized atmospheric tone. When you step onto a porch at 6:51 a.m., the specific quality of the air is a complex physical equation manifest as a sensory reality. The angle of the sun drives a specific thermal gradient. The moisture evaporating from the morning soil alters the acoustic density of the air, changing how sound waves propagate across space. The barometric pressure dictates the structural resistance of the environment. The tone of the moment is a literal physical signature. The atmosphere acts as a localized manifold where solar energy, geography, and human history cross paths and register their combined presence. 2. The reimagined field recording, activating the matrix. If the atmosphere is a self-inscribing canvas, then the traditional concept of a field recording undergoes a radical mutation. It ceases to be an act of passive documentation and becomes an act of systemic activation. Beyond audio, a microphone is no longer just capturing sound waves to be played back later as a nostalgic souvenir. It is treated as a transducer, tracking a localized pressure wave moving through a specific thermodynamic state. The Chrono-Topological map. A daily time-stamped archive of these recordings is not just a collection of files. It is a continuous topological map of the environment's structural metabolism. By stacking these daily tonal snapshots over weeks, months, and seasons, I am effectively graphing the deep rhythmic respiration of the historiosphere, the materialization of time. When I pair an audio capture with a visual tableau or a precise textual log, I am capturing the environment's density. I am proving that time is not an abstraction, but a physical weight that changes the way the air feels, looks, and sounds. 3. The secular liturgy, tracking qualitative temporality. When this atmospheric vision is sustained over a long arc, such as a year-long cycle, it transforms from a technical research project into a secular liturgy. It becomes a systematic practice of tracking qualitative temporality, the idea that 15 minutes at dawn contains a completely different structural intensity than 15 minutes at dusk. Instead of navigating the world through the cold, uniform grid of clock time, this perspective invites us to map reality through its energetic transitions. 4. The creative loop, from field to studio. Ultimately, this vision collapses the distance between the field and the workspace. The artist-researcher operating within this framework recognizes that the studio is not an isolated bubble. It sits within the exact same atmospheric field as the landscape outside. By bringing the data, the sounds, and the recorded tableaus of these localized atmospheric cycles back into the workspace, I am not just analyzing data, I am using the ambient energy of the world machine to modulate my creative output. The final artifact, whether a piece of prose, a visual design, or a complex tonal variation, becomes an extension of the very atmosphere that birthed it. The world writes the script, the environment provides the tone, and the workspace acts as the final clarifying lens. So that's my neo or post-Einsteinian vision, revolution. Thanks.